We noticed something that was off. Me and a couple different people noticed different points, but it kind of added up to a bigger picture. They're called indicators of compromise in the private sector. And so when I noticed these indicators, red flags went off in my head, and I said, something's up here. So I investigated farther at that point.
And what did you find as you investigated further? What was happening to the data that you saw?
Sure. At first, I didn't have a good picture, so I started to try to rule out possibilities of what benign could have caused these large exfiltration of data, could cause these large spikes of internal transfers.
Exfiltration of data, to be clear,
Sure.
you saw a large amount of data being moved out of the NLRB system. Is that right?
That's correct, leaving a network interface that faces towards the public internet, something that would only occur if you were to transfer a file outside of our secure system.
And that caught your attention. Why? I'm assuming that kind of thing doesn't usually happen?
It was very abnormal. There's a 200 or 300% increase in that time period as to what normal baseline is. So that's definitely unusual and warranted more investigation.
And in the affidavit, you say that you detected the removal of 10 gigabytes worth of data. Do you have any idea what kind of data we're talking about? Why this would cause concern?
Sure. So what that data spike correlated with was data that was transferred off of an internal record-keeping device that was only used for internal case data. So this system only has the private information about union organizers, the privileged business proprietary technologies, competitors, those kind of things are in that system only. There's no other data, there's nothing else except that. So that correlated data spike lined up in the exact time window and the same amount. And so that's what we can determine was taken, was data out of that system particularly.
So Andrew, the White House responded to our request with a statement about this, and they said, quote, it's months old news that President Trump signed an executive order to hire DOJ employees at agencies and coordinate data sharing. Their highly qualified team has been extremely public and transparent in its efforts to eliminate waste, fraud, and abuse across the executive branch, including the NLRB. So Andrew, they're arguing this is all part of their work that they're doing to cut waste, fraud, and abuse.
If the administration is taking the position that having data exfiltrated out of the United States government and potentially into other nation states, if that's about efficiency and effectiveness for the nation, it doesn't make any sense. Within 15 minutes of DOJ engineers creating accounts, usernames and passwords within internal systems within DOJ, within 15 minutes of the creation of those accounts, somebody or something from Russia tried to log in with all of the right credentials, meaning they had the right usernames and right passwords. And the question is, how do they get that and why? The second question that I have is that why is it that from what Dan has seen, as well as others, because we have spoken to other individuals who are able to corroborate this, which is that some of the data is also using Starlink as a backdoor. And that's another way to get data out of internal databases within agencies. And Starlink has now direct access where information is likely, and we believe is funneled directly into Russia.
So let me ask you, based on the evidence you've seen, do you have a view about why the DOJ team would have been accessing and exfiltrating, sending out all of this data?
That I don't know. I don't want to speculate as to the why, because there are so many questions that would, subsequent questions that would lead to. Yeah. But that certainly is the question: is why are they doing this? Now, part of it may be there's a component where this could be intentional. There's also a component where this is simply sloppiness. I mean, another thing that that we have seen within databases within the government, as Dan will be able to talk about, is that internal databases throughout the government have been opened to the open internet.
Yeah, that's the key. Is these are not just my agency; these are Department of Treasury, these are Department of Energy, Department of Defense. So these are the critical systems that those agencies use that basically turn on the porch light for other foreign nation states to come on in.
And I need to ask you as well, Daniel, because Mr. Musk's own companies have faced complaints at the NLRB. We know he brought just last year a case to federal court, basically arguing that the agency structure was unconstitutional, arguing it shouldn't exist in the first place. Is there any way of knowing if the DOJ team accessed any information related to cases about Elon Musk?
One of the frustrating things about this is there's been roadblocks introduced along the way. One of the things I don't have is access to that level of data. Those logs and records of what was accessed during that time are missing, and just coincidentally missing after the data spike incident. No other period of time is missing except that small window.
Missing from your view? Do you know if other people have access to that?
They were deleted entirely.
You were able to confirm that?
Yes. I had another 8. Yes, absolutely.
Another key point to your question is that, the data that was flying out of NLRB was case-related data. It was their internal case management system. So given the fact that, an entire libraries or an entire encyclopedia worth of information has been flying out, is it plausible that that would include any of Elon Musk's corporate information? It's very possible.
These are all
we
questions
don't know.
you still have that
Correct.
we don't have answers
We
to.
don't have answers to that.
Can I ask you, Dan, big picture, was it an easy decision to come forward, to say this publicly, to get a lawyer, to be a whistleblower? Why decide to do that?
It was never a question whether or not to do the right thing. That was always my agenda. But how I did it, or whether or not I did it, honestly, was absolutely a question. It's my safety. That's there's so much at play that I didn't realize too, but I'm standing behind it. I'm putting my name to it, and that's just who I am.
You mentioned your safety. Why do you mention that?
We had an incident in my go ahead.
This is a difficult topic for Tan to discuss, but prior to our filing the whistleblower disclosure this week, last week, somebody went to Dan's home and taped a threatening note, a menacing note on his door with personal information
While I
within
was
it.
at work, yeah.
While he was at work, and it also contained photographs of him walking his dog taken by a drone. So
This was on your front door to your home.
Taped straight on, not inconspicuous, just right there in a white envelope.
you can't get any more a direct threat than that.
Dan, you said this felt like the right thing to do. What do you want to see happen next?
Just a full investigation. That's all I've wanted, is just somebody to come in and validate, tell me why I'm wrong. Just come in and say, this is because of this. And so far, I've been unable to find that.